folding the corner pages of the of books down, or what's that called? Earring a page?
Dog ear.
Yeah. Dog earring a page of the book she thinks is horrible. You might as well just butcher the book. We like to think that we get better with age, like a fine wine. Either way, with that, no, I hate that line. Damn it. I kept on saying with that, and I hate the transition, so.
With that?
Yeah, shush. Or I say so. All right. Hello dears, Natalie, Locke here, and it is episode 11 of these writing prompts with Write the Story, where I give you a writing prompt out of this book and take that writing prompt and write in under 400 words a story, including those 10 words. If you want to write right after I'm done giving the prompt and the 10 words, go ahead and pause the video, write the story yourself. You can do it the way I've done it before, where I outline for 5 minutes and then write for 20 minutes, or you can just go straight into writing, drafting the story, and then edit in the total time. And that part I usually give about 30 minutes for if I'm gonna go that route. Whichever way you want, it's your story. I'm not keeping track of the time. Then we can come back. I will read my story, tell you what I liked about it overall, what I didn't like about it, and then give you my favorite line and least favorite line, because it's fun. And also, we're our own worst critics anyway, so why not critique myself? This episode's writing prompt is a day in a life. The 10 words you're to include are identical, pot roast, decorate, sign, abuse, library, amnesia, butcher, submit, and sensation. So with the outline, as always, I just kind of get glimpses of how to incorporate the words. How I incorporated these words were, I was thinking, we're following the day in the life of a librarian as she opens up the library. That's one word. She puts her leftover pot roast for her lunch in the fridge. She thinks of the sensation of the pages when she's turning a book, and how the older books, the pages feel different than the newer books. She also sometimes gets amnesia and forgets to eat her lunch in the day because she gets so lost in the books and helping people and so forth. Dog earring a page of the book she thinks is horrible. You might as well just butcher the book. And so there's the other word. She thinks of how two people can read identical books and experience the book differently. And then there was also, to incorporate decorate, I was thinking the library is decorating for Halloween, because I wrote this before Halloween. And I was thinking the library could decorate for Halloween, and some of the signs said, read the signs, you can read a book too. And then nothing is scarier than an abused book. So that's where I was going to incorporate those words. Then I was also thinking to use the word submit. I was thinking maybe the librarian had a problem where she was always so busy that she never finished a book, ever. She had read all these books, but she never read a book to the end. And I kind of liked that idea, and I wanted to play on that. Spoiler alert, I didn't do that. But the line I was thinking of is that she finally submits to reading the end of a book. Out of the 10 words, I kept, because the kept list versus the change list is shorter. The kept list is she had pot roast. We did follow a librarian in a library. I did talk about the sensation of the pages. I did keep identical, of how two people can read an identical book and experience it differently. And that's it. So 4 out of 10 words stayed the same. I'll go ahead and read the story so you can see what changed. Sasha jangled her keys in the lock just as the sun peeked over the hills. Before she entered, she straightened the Freya Gill Library sign. After setting her pot roast leftovers in the fridge, she grabbed all the return books to scan and shelve for the next reader. It's funny how two people can read identical books and have 2 different experiences. Or you reread the same book and it means something different to you the second time around. As Sasha placed the books on the shelves, she pondered these things. What was the story saying to each reader? Did the reader submit to the world they read, or did they have amnesia after reading the last page? Did they notice the sensation between pages of old and new books? Did they... Excuse me. Sasha turned to the voice to see a man in a suit. I need to return this book for my client in person and ensure we have the past due fees covered. He held up a blue hardback. Sasha noted the decorated spine with etched gold paint vines. I can help you. You can follow me. May I have the book? The man handed the book over. Sasha ran her fingers over the worn bend next to the spine on the front of the book. Not from abuse, but love. Do you know how long it's been past due? Sasha asked. The man cleared his throat. Probably over 80 years. Sasha tried to keep her face level. She turned the book over, looking for a barcode. Inside the cover was a lone checkout slip with the library's old name at the top. The envelope covered the name of the librarian, but the person who checked out the book must have been a child based on the handwriting. She could only make out C. Mills. Well, there is an $80 replacement fee for the book, but we have the book here. She tapped the cover of the book. This is also, Sasha trailed, as she flipped the cover over. It is a first edition. I'm willing to just accept it back into our shelves. The man smiled. That's great to hear. It was one of my client's favorite books, and per the will, they wanted me to return it. After the man left, Sasha decided to see which librarian checked out the book to this child almost 80 years ago. The name at the bottom was unmistakable. Freya Gill. Behind the slip was another piece of paper. Sasha unfolded a check. It was made out to the library for $1 million. In the memo line, it said, "Thank you for the gift of reading," and it was signed by Chelsea Mills. So now that I've read the story again, it's come to my attention that I actually had 5 words that did not change between the outline and the final story. Also, here's the thing about this story. It took me longer than 20 minutes to write. So I did first write here in the book, and I even started to fill in lines up here. But as I was writing, I had this day in a life idea, but then I thought something needs to change in this day. This isn't a normal day. And that's when I got the idea of somebody coming in, bringing a book, and I really got this kind of good feeling of, let's make the book really old, a first edition. Maybe it was given to a child. And I actually looked up, I was almost considered naming the book, and if I named it, it was going to be Tales of Dr. Dolittle, because that came out in like 1920s, and that's when I figured when this could take place. I really like the idea of this gift kind of changing the day in the life of this librarian. And I just kind of went from there of trying to think of how this would affect, how could it be passed, but then also how could I show the librarian kind of going about her day as usual and then change it up. So as I'm writing, based off the outline, I started to change the outline, which is why we should only date our outlines and never marry them. Just saying, for any writers out there. When I wrote the story and I realized it wouldn't fit on the paper, I was also trying to send this story to my friend Chandra at C-Chan Writes, if you want to find her on Instagram. We also did the live stream together on October 30th. So when it comes to flash fiction, she's my buddy. This particular story actually occurred during Sarah Hoffman's live stream on October 31st. And Chandra ended up emailing me her story. Well, wanting to let her see my story, I decided to rewrite the story, type it in with the new ending that I wanted, and I sent it to her. So that's how I ended up with 476 words, which, if you recall, I suggested at the beginning of this video, you should try to write under 400 words. Now, yes, I could go back through and cut this down. I just might. For now, I'm happy with the story. I kind of like how the story evolved, and I think that's really interesting of how I even bring up the mindset of how you can reread a book and get something new from it at different points in your life. The same thing is for a writer. A writer could write a book in their 20s and then write the same exact book, but it wouldn't be the same, in their 40s. It would be a completely different book. They would have different perspectives. They would have different approach. Hopefully they're also a better writer too. We like to think that we get better with age, like a fine wine. With this story specifically, what I liked about it was I liked how the story evolved. I know the prompt is a day in a life, which kind of made it seem like it should be boring, but I just couldn't make it boring. It maybe is boring to some, but not to me. I'm all here for the warm, fuzzy butterflies and awesomeness. I did use at least all 10 words. I really liked my character, Sasha. With this story, I feel like I didn't head hop as much when I do third person. I feel this was definitely third person close. You were in Sasha's head. So for my favorite line and least favorite line first, it actually isn't a line. I think it's more of a section, but I really feel that the dialogue between Sasha and the lawyer, you're led to assume, hopefully people got that, I felt like it could have been better. Just before that section, my favorite line, just because I feel how it interrupted the story appropriately, which we usually don't like to do, is Sasha is daydreaming, wondering if readers notice the sensation between the pages of old and new books. And she's saying, did they? And then it's cut off. We don't know what else she was going to think because she got interrupted by the lawyer saying, excuse me. And so the reader is getting interrupted as well. And I actually like that line. I like that she's daydreaming. She's thinking about books and thinking about how people soak them in, or do they have amnesia after they're done reading a book? All these different things, and then it's interrupted. And you got that interruption. I feel that interruption is clear, even as a reader reading the interruption. And if you could see what I wrote down, I put, did they? And then a dash line. So you as the reader are interrupted in reading what her thought process is. And that's my favorite. But just after that, the conversations between her and the lawyer, I feel like it could have been stronger. I feel like I should have had more nonverbals maybe. Because, for example, you didn't get this at all, but I'm also working with my word space here. But she says, follow me. Well, I'm thinking he's following her to like a circular information desk. She's standing behind the desk and puts the book on top of the like bar height counter, which is fine. And then I have her like tap the cover or something, but she said, follow me. And you don't see any of that. You don't think she's standing behind a computer because I don't say it. So you're probably imagining her at the end of the aisle or something, what have you. So that's why when it comes to least favorite line, it's more of that section, which I know is kind of a cop-out because I usually do an actual line, especially when I can say this line could be deleted and you would still understand the story wholeheartedly. But for me, I feel like that was not good. But I do, going back to it, another favorite line, I guess, to add another one, is when Sasha asks how long the book has been past due. The man cleared his throat, probably over 80 years. Like, you can kind of imagine the uncomfortableness of like, it's been a while. Like, he probably didn't really want to say it. The only other things that I feel like could have done better is definitely a reread of editing. There's a few lines in there, and you don't get it because I've edited out of this video, of where I mistyped or I left out a word, or autocorrect did not save me whatsoever. And I'm sure a reread the following day would always help me be able to correct those little mistakes and just make it better, make it more polished so it flows as I'm reading it much easier. Well, I hope you enjoyed writing your own prompts or listening to mine, or you hated mine and you're saying I would write it better, in which case I hope you do. As always, any of my prompts, any of my stories, the plots and everything, I don't have ownership of this. If it inspires you to write a short story or novel, have at it. I've even starred a few stories in my prompts where I might expand upon them and make them another story. Or I might do this series all over again where I rewrite every single one of these stories. Oh God, I just committed myself. It's out there in the ether. Only if you see this in the video, then it is. If not, then I edit it out. then you got no clue. Thank you for joining me for episode 11. Stay tuned for the live streams that we'll be doing on Saturday, Chandra and I. Still not sure whose channels we're doing them on, but we're still doing them. And especially us making our own prompts. That's going to be really fun, and it has been so far. I appreciate you on this process, and I hope this helps your own writing skills or helps you at least critique mine, in which case please comment down below. I will take all the lashings that I can on how to be a better writer. Until then, have a good day, have a good week, have a good month, have a good year.